In the late 19th century, as Europe carved Africa apart with iron, fire, and deceit, one man stood in their path. A self-made emperor, a military mastermind, a relentless tactician who dared defy the greatest colonial machine of his time. His name was Samori Touré. They called him Africa's Napoleon, not because he sought glory, but because he refused to kneel. For 16 long years, he fought France across thousands of miles of West African savanna and forest. A warrior, a nation builder, a strategist who turned exile into empire and retreat into victory. This is the untold story of the man who made the French tremble and proved that Africa would not fall quietly. The story begins in 1830, in the lands of present-day Guinea. Samori Touré is born into humble beginnings, a member of the Mandé people, heirs to ancient Mali, a civilization of scholars, horsemen, griots, and kings. His childhood is not noble, not royal. He is simply Samori, son of a Dula trader. But fate does not care for bloodlines. It tests the spirit. At the age of 12, Samori's world shatters. His mother, captured by a rival raiding group, is taken away in chains. Young Samori has a choice: flee or fight for her. He chooses to fight. He joins his mother's captors as a servant, not out of devotion, but strategy. He learns their tactics, their weapons, their language. For 7 years he waits, watches, grows stronger, until he earns his chance. He frees his mother, and in that moment a warrior is born, not through conquest, but through loyalty, perseverance, and patience. Samori slowly gathers followers, hunters, traders, warriors, and those fleeing rival chiefs. He becomes known as the Mande lion, a man of discipline and spiritual strength, guided by Islam and Mande tradition. He studies warfare with an obsession of a scholar. He learns to build alliances, to read terrain, to inspire loyalty. His army grows, first dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. Unlike many African leaders of the era, Samori recognizes early that the world is changing. Guns, not spears, will decide the battles to come. He builds workshops, trades for rifles, trains his men in modern drills. Within a decade, Samori Touré transforms from village defender to king. His capital, Bisandugu, becomes a thriving court of scholars, blacksmiths, diplomats, and generals. But power, once gained, invites rivalry. And in West Africa, rival chiefs are not his only threat. Another storm is brewing, bigger, deadlier, merciless.
France. It begins in whispers. French soldiers sighted along the Senegal River. Foreign flags rising over forts. Treaties forced on kings. Villages burned for refusing to bow. France marches east, hungry for gold, rubber, and land. Their goal? Create a French West Africa, stretching from the Atlantic to the Sahara. But between them and domination stands one man, Samori Touré. At first, he seeks peace. He sends envoys. He signs treaties, hoping to buy time. He strengthens his cavalry, expands trade, purchases more rifles, even builds his own weapon workshops. He trains his men in platoons, in formations influenced by the Ottoman and Sudanese forces. Some French officers will later admit Samori's army was as disciplined and organized as any European force they encountered in Africa. But diplomacy has limits. France breaks the peace. They march on Mandé territory. Villages burn. Samori understands negotiation is finished. Only resistance remains. The year is 1882. French forces push deep into Samori's lands, believing him cornered. But Samori Touré is no cornered animal. He is a tactician. He orders his capital burned. Yes, he burns his own city. To deny the French any advantage, any trophy, any symbol of victory. His people march eastward, carrying what remains of their kingdom. Where most see defeat, Samori sees only movement, a retreat not backward, but forward. This is his genius, to make retreat a weapon, to turn space into strategy, to fight a war of movement, mobility, and illusion. Samori abandons walled cities, easy targets, and melts into the forests and mountains, rebuilding his empire anew. This is the birth of his guerrilla strategy, a war of shadows, ambushes, and endurance. The French call him the Black Napoleon. But in truth, Napoleon never fought like this. Samori invents a new African warfare. His soldiers strike and vanish. Supply lines are cut. Scouts disappear. Night raids unsettle French camps. Every tree becomes a sentry. Every village a lookout. Every retreat a trap. From exile, Samori builds not just an army, but a state. Spanning parts of modern Guinea, Mali, Côte d'Ivoire, and Sierra Leone, his dominion stretches farther than many European kingdoms. He institutes Islamic law while respecting local traditions. He builds schools, appoints governors, creates a professional army. Even European observers admit his administration was sophisticated, a centralized empire rising from the ashes of displacement. But empire brings enemies. Local chiefs resent losing power. France arms rival groups. Missionaries whisper lies to local communities. The French war machine returns, larger, fueled by reinforcements, supported by artillery, armed with the latest rifles. Their mission: destroy Samori Touré completely. The war stretches on. Years become decades. French officers write reports confessing frustration, disbelief, even admiration. They capture towns only to lose them days later. They fight battles only to find Samori already encircling another region.
To his people, Samori is not simply a king. He is a shield, a protector who refuses to surrender them to slavery or humiliation. He personally trains archers and riflemen. He rides at the front lines. He encourages blacksmiths to forge spears and horse tack, and his workshops modify captured French rifles. He uses scorched earth tactics not out of cruelty, but necessity. Any town that aids France becomes a threat to the dream of freedom. Samori Touré is not perfect. He is severe. He demands loyalty with iron resolve. But he fights with one purpose: to keep his people free from foreign rule. By the 1890s, the world shifts again. Europe's conquest accelerates. Britain pushes from Sierra Leone, France from Senegal. Other colonial powers tighten the circle. Samori is squeezed between empires. Supplies dwindle. Traitors whisper in shadows. Disease spreads. Children march beside soldiers. Yet still, the Mandé lion does not break. When outnumbered, he disappears into the forests. When cornered, he strikes out of nowhere. When surrounded, he moves his entire nation eastward again. Thousands of families crossing rivers and mountains. Some European historians will later admit Samori Touré held off France longer than many European nations did during future wars. 16 years, more than Napoleon resisted Allied Europe after Waterloo. In 1898, exhausted but unbroken, Samori leads what remains of his empire into the rugged forestlands of present-day Côte d'Ivoire. The French send columns from all directions. They bribe local chiefs, buy guides, tighten the net. Samori continues guerrilla raids, relocates villages, trains young fighters. But at last, betrayal creeps in. A local guide, bribed with gold, leads French troops to Samori's camp. He is captured, not in battle, but while preparing his people to flee once again. Even in defeat, he does not beg. He stands tall, dignified, regal. A French officer writes that Samori appeared as calm and commanding as a king in his palace. He is exiled to Gabon, far from the lands he fought for. There, on June 2, 1900, the Mandé lion breathes his last, not broken, not conquered in spirit, a legend beyond defeat. Today, Samori Touré remains a symbol of African resistance, a strategist who read the winds of change, a man who understood diplomacy, industry, religion, and war. A leader who refused to bow even when the world closed in around him. His descendants will one day shape Africa again. His great-grandson, Ahmed Sékou Touré, becoming the first president of Guinea, declaring, "Guinea prefers poverty in liberty to riches in slavery." 1,000 drums beat his name. In Mandé songs, in whispered stories, in fields where warriors once trained, in the hearts of those who believe freedom is worth everything. As colonial historians fade, Samori rises, not simply Africa's Napoleon, but Africa's lion, a king whose empire was not land alone, but dignity, courage, and unshakable resolve. When history asked him to kneel, he chose to stand forever.